Focusing in specifically on the wild world of Stateline Speedway.
How wonderful it was.
And you were there at the beginning. This is a Stateline Speedway program, 1961. And it says, Doug Smith, sports editor of the Warren Observer, is dean of the racing writers, appearing weekly at Stateline, and frequently wrests the microphone from Lloyd Williams and fills the air with a lot of words nobody understands.
Good heavens.
Doug is 25 and married. Wife Polly frequently accompanies him to the races, but 10-month-old Joe stays home. Joe didn't interfere with Doug's love of racing either. He was born on Friday, and Doug made Saturday's race.
Sounds like me.
Now sports editor of the Warren County Observer, the talkative and sometimes short-tempered Smith.
Who, me?
Covered his first...
Who wrote that?
Covered his first races at Jamestown Speedway in 1951. You must have been 15.
Yeah, I couldn't even drive.
Making this his 10th year as an auto racer.
Of course, we had a lot of drivers that couldn't drive either.
He'll take Stateline over anything except possibly Raceway Park in Blue Island, Illinois. He made every program since mid-1957.
I was Jamestown 48 to 56, and then 57 to 61.
And then you went to Warren in 62?
Yeah.
And then you went to Erie?
From here, we'll see what Jim Ponder thinks of them as they come out of the fourth turn and down the stretch for the start of the feature event. 25 laps to go. 25 laps, your starter Jim Ponder looks them over, and they're off. And they're really barreling into the first turn. Coming out best is Bud Finale in car number 98. Second, Keith Warner in 20, and third, Bud Gardner in 102. They're really moving out in the feature event of the evening. However, all cars must make that first lap in order for the race to be on. They're still all going, so your race is on.
Where did you stay? And did you go with the announcers?
Yes, yeah. And then one day I think Lloyd's bladder weakened on him, and he said, any chance you could handle this? And well, probably the worst movie ever made. So I usually did one or two races, and that was a lot of fun. I remember one day I horrified everybody. We had something we needed to get pinned up in there. We needed a safety pin. I did nothing. I said, any woman down there whose straps are holding together by themselves, could we have a safety pin, please? And Lloyd, you can't say that. It was the 50s. Yeah. I could look down there and see them look up at me and laugh.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Good. So you had feedback.
Yeah, I would get instant feedback. I would, and I can't even recall what I would, I'd say, well, there goes Bobby Schnarrs with another merry-go-round ride, as he did his thing, and I would look at people look up. I would see people look up and laugh. It was usually something, and it was always spontaneous.
Yeah.
And it was never as good the second time.
Yeah.
I believe that I was announcing when Emery did that five-way roll. It just that was just horrible. Do you recall the night that? Do you remember Jim Ponder?
Yeah.
The flagman.
Yeah.
Remember the night he miscounted the laps?
No.
This wasn't the first time. And have you talked to Jim? He's not still around, is he?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, Jim Ponder was Jim Ponder's biggest fan. And he was talking about the number of feature races that he'd flagged. And I just kind of bought it. I mean, it was a figure like about 10,000 or something like that. And And somehow or other, I got to figure, he must have announced, 3 features a day ever since he was 2 years old in order to come up to this number. And anyway, one night he miscounted the laps. Roller coaster finish not needed. Schnars wins. Oh, for heaven's sakes.
Good.
Several years before the automobile was invented, a guy named Bill Shakespeare, having nothing better to do one day, dipped his goose quill into whatever passed for ink and wrote, "To err is human, to forgive is divine," or something to that effect. So much for getting the name of the guy who won the race in the first paragraph. Saturday night, the officials at Stateline Speedway, a human group of their one, aired royally. But here's what happened. And this, oh my goodness, Bob Schnars, driving the race of his 21-year life, led of the white flag was dropped. Just as he passed the starter when the drive shaft gave up the ghost. I thought he ran out of gas. Left nothing but neutral. Easily passed by Russell, who had been dogging him since the 11th, and Woody McCracken of Ridgeway finished 4th. But when the score sheets had been rechecked, they showed the white flag had been dropped after 25 laps. The Schnars led at the end of regulation distance. Gosh, I never won a feature event anywhere, and I had to cheat to win this one. I'm still mad at that drive shaft. Gee, oh my goodness gracious. Oh my, 25. Oh, gee, I actually could write a little bit. I wonder what the hell happened. Oh, this is marvelous.
I'll Russell in car number 4 on the move. Here it is, the checker flag and the win. Bobby Stars. And the battle for second. And it is Jim Hicks in 37. Third, Hal Russell in car number 4. And fourth, Joe Mayfield in 21. Here he is, the terrific job of driving his second feature event of the season. What do you say? A big hand for Bobby Stars. Nice scoring, Bobby.
I remember the year that Squirt Johns won the first 5 races of the year, won the first 5 features of the year, and then didn't wound up not even winning the points title.
Right.
Remember that Bobby Schnars was all over the track. I remember that Kenny Johnson, who always had a Hudson until they stopped making Hudsons, had to be a heartbreak for him. It was always sort of behind the pack. I always rooted for Kenny Johnson,
Did you?
which is kind of like rooting for the Pirates. He was just such a nice guy. Emery Mann was kind of the Yankees of the time. He recently, he's racing upstairs now, isn't he? Yeah, lovely man. And he was kind of, I believe Emery Mann was even up at Jamestown Speedway. Yes. I believe that he was. And he was kind of the Yankees or maybe the Chicago Bears of this. And if not a villain, at least a fellow who was so widely either loved him or you hated him. And
Because of his successes?
and because of his successes and because of his very no-nonsense, get-out-of-my-way driving style. And that big 8-ball on the car, you'd never forget that. So that the first time I ever saw him in a coat and tie selling automobiles, I thought, who is this guy? He was a big guy. But you look at this guy coming down a track, and here comes the track accountant. It's got just, with the big thick glasses, and he just became a different. It was like Clark Kent stepped into that automobile. This is funny. Quite a few years ago, I had a serious eye operation, and I was awake during most of it. So I'm lying there, and I heard the doctor say, "Oh, we got about 30 minutes to go." So to work off those 30 minutes, I started counting down in my head, 1800, 1799, 1798. When I came to 916, I thought of Dean Layfield. And later told people, what did the doctor do? I said, he worked on my eye for 2 hours with a darning needle and a 9/16 wrench, which of course is how Dean, I guess, what that number meant. Nobody that paid attention to the automobile racing, like the Jamestown Post-Journal. But Frank said that there are hundreds and maybe thousands of people who go to automobile racing. People are interested in it, and we're going to cover it.
Dickey Bend, and then there was a Skyline Speedway,
Right.
which they were involved, and then they all broke up and went their ways, and I got dummy bought into that Skyline,
Okay.
and I didn't make any money.
No money. Okay.
Didn't make no money, you know.
I hear you. So yeah, that's. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
It went bankrupt in the end. I sold mine out, and then it went bankrupt after that. Busti Speedway is who I work for, and they own both tracks.
Oh, I gotcha. Okay.
And I worked for them for 21 years.
Huh.
Unheard of.
That's true. You're right. But you must have done a good job, or you wouldn't have worked there 21 years. The starter and the announcer, if you would, etc., can make or break a racetrack. You know that as well as I do.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You have to be showman. You can't just be a guy that waves a flag around once in a while. You have to be showman.
Yeah, you have to be a full... I got hit once there, rolled 110 feet.
Whoa.
I didn't work for a couple of weeks after that.
I imagine. Did you start it down on the track, or did you start them up on the stand?
Well, we started them down on the track then, but after that deal, it was always up in the stand. A flagman, you could not have any favorite drivers. You had to like them all.
Well, true.
Yeah. Dean drove a Mercury.
Yeah.
Yep, 9/16.
That's right. Remember that 55 Mercury? That was.
Yeah.
Everybody knew that 55 Mercury. You're right.
Everybody feared that.
That's right. You're right.
Take Spurt John. He came up in this area and raced, and he'd drive. I think it was 87 miles from his home up to the racetrack here.
Gotcha.
And he'd come up to Stateline on Saturday night and the Erie's on Sunday night, and he'd drive back and forth.
Cool.
Now, it's hard to believe. And he didn't have no trailer or nothing. He hooked the car behind his car. And,
flat-toed it, yeah.
yep, and then he was a champion, I think it was 3 different times. I enjoyed flagging, being at the racetrack, being around the people.
Okay.
That was the biggest enjoyment.
We run down on your feature events, 25 laps. On the pole is car number 98, Bud Finale of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Off the pole, car number 20, Keith Warner of Titusville, PA, a 1956 Ford. Second on the pole, car number 20, or car number 40, rather. Herb Gustafson, I understand, is from Titusville, PA. Off the pole, it's car number 96, Lindstrom in Northeast PA, a 19...
So 57, 58, and 59 were sort of your time periods at Stateline.
That's right.
What was your car number?
51, and then I went to 96 when I started running NASCAR.
There's an article here, July 18th, 1959. Season high of 31 cars, including a few newcomers, checked into the pits, and luck of varied varieties came to the New York Penn racing team of Leon Lindstrom of Northeast Pennsylvania and Don Strain. Lindstrom, that particular night, became the track's first hospital case of 1959. Leon, back on the track after a 5 weeks absence, ran ahead of Strain in the semi, but came a cropper in the feature. His car followed Emery Mann's into a 20th lap spin-out, then became the meat of a metal sandwich when Lakewood's Frank Liffner slammed in after him. He was detained overnight at the Jamestown General Hospital, where x-rays revealed only possible chest injuries and no broken bones.
Yeah, I remember that.
What happened there?
Well, just one of them things. Someone was in head of Emery. It caused the whole thing. I don't know who it was. Emery said he was lucky he didn't get hurt too.
Okay.
And there was someone on the outside of me. Emery and I was passing a bunch of cars. And I'd followed Emery all the way through the race. And the guy on the right side of me started spinning for why I didn't know. So I pulled over a little bit, and there was Emery. And I hit him, and he spun, and I spun, and Frank Liffner come barreling right into me. All I remember is a big bang and knocked me unconscious. And I couldn't hardly breathe because my ribs hurt so bad. But it just bruised me. Nothing serious. That was the night I rolled over the wheel fence, 56 Ford.
Is that right? How'd that happen? Talk to me.
Oh, there was I can't remember his name, he was from Jamestown, had a 56 Pontiac, and he was crossways the track, and I tried to go around him, and I got caught up in the loose dirt, and it went into the fence, and it spun around on the front end of it, because the back wheels crawled up the guard post, and I went right out over the fence.
Oh my gosh.
Never got a sudden jar. But I wasn't going very fast at the time it happened because I'd break down all I could, but
Yeah.
in mud you don't stop too fast. It was pretty wet that night.
You raced at Stateline through 1959, and then you did NASCAR. How did that happen?
Well, I got invited to a NASCAR race. First I went to it was Mark Association. And I went to Detroit, Michigan to a race at Michigan State Fairgrounds, mile track. Never run a mile track before in my life. And I went out to time trial and engine was missing. Well, the young kids at work forgot to put a plug wire back on. So I had to run in a 25-miler preliminary. The fastest three cars was going to run the 100-mile race. So I went out, and of course I started last car. In the third lap, I was leading, and I won that race. And got into the 100-miler, and then I started next to the last car. Well, I guess there was two behind me. But anyway, I was next to last on the outside about 20 laps into the race, why, I was running first place. Didn't know it because they changed my number from 51 to 96. And I kept wondering, who is 96? And I was running the wheels off that poor car, trying to find or trying to catch 96. When the race was over, why, I went back into the pits with the car. And they come running over and they said, "You won it." And I said, "No, 96 did." He said, "You better look at the number on your car." I said, "Man, this is the first time I drove the car with that number." King, I can't remember his name, but I raced against his father, and he was just coming out onto the racing then. But his father, I saw him one day put his son right into the wall because his son was racing him. His son would have beat him too. He was passing him, but he wanted to win that race.
Petty?
Petty.
Lee Petty?
Oh,
Put
Lee
Richard
Petty.
into the wall?
Oh, yeah. He didn't bother him a bit. He was a hard man to run again.
We ran the races with the infield about 3 feet higher than the track. And during 1957, an earth mover was brought in, and the high infield was cut down to track level, with the dirt being shifted to build up the banked curves on the two ends of the oval. That was the last major construction on the track itself. Is that kind of how you remember it?
Yep, that's exactly how it happened. We done the cutting of the trees and stuff. That's what we done. And my brothers had the tractors and they moved them into where they could use them. I don't remember who it was, but some car spun out and come right up over the infield over that big bank.
Is that right?
Yeah. So they just they held it in on a truck. They just backed their truck up, drove it off the infield onto the truck.
Because it was so high.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
yeah. Everybody wondered how they was going to get it down off in there. My brother said, "Well, it'll come up over. It'll shoot you back down." But it damaged the front end pretty bad, so they just loaded it up and took it home. I don't remember who it was. Stateline brings back a lot of memories.
But Stateline Speedway in 1957 named Ted Hauser.
Right.
And he drove at Stateline through 1959 and also had a car number 60. That sound about like you.
Well, I had a car, it was a Ford, believe it or not, and I'm a GM man. Floyd used to have a Kindle station right over here. Used to ride over town here. It used to be called Kindle, right there on the corner. And I think maybe he's the one that really got me started in the racing because he always ran, and I would always stop in there and talk to him.
Is that something you grew up as a kid?
I grew up with a kid, you know, being on a dirt road and things, you know how kids are. We would race, or you get out there, and yeah, and I enjoyed it. This is good now. I didn't know nothing about racing, and when I got it, it was a 33 Ford Coupe. We got that car, chopped the fenders all off and everything, and I took the wheels off. I said, "Hell, you don't need no brakes." I threw the brake shoes away. So I went up to, on the other side of Dunkirk out there, I can't remember the name of the racetrack, but I went up there and I was doing good with it, but I was just learning to drive. Lloyd Thomas, he says, "Can I drive your car for you?" And I said, "Yeah, go ahead." He come in and he ran it good. He says, "Holy hell," he says, "no brakes in that." I said, "No." I took them out and threw them away. He says, "No, you need brakes on the track." So well, I took it back and I put brakes on the thing. So that was just during a learning process.
Yeah.
My first year, let me see, I'd have to go back and think here. It was probably in 55. Right. Yeah, Coon Road. I won a lot of races in my life. I won 11 features one time in a row before I lost one.
My word.
Then the reason I lost it, I had a friend, and Ford had a glass bowl. I didn't know, you're probably not familiar, on the fuel pump. And he took that off and cleaned it, and I always kept a old radiator hose fit up over that to keep from breaking. Stone fly and hit the there. He cleaned it for me, and he didn't put the rubber back on. I was leading a race, and a stone flew and hit that bowl, and broke it, and I lost the race. Well, when they rolled me in Sherman there, I think back.
How did that actually happen? Explain that in a little more detail.
Well, they like I say, was out there, was the last race of the year, and we were experimenting with the rear end. And we changed the gear ratio, and we went over there, and I was running smaller tires. And I was running third gear. And I was going by them all. I wasn't just gradual going by them, I was flying by them. Well, they waited on me till I came around, and one hit me and got me sideways. And when he did, two more jumped in, and they rolled me. They rolled me the whole, I don't know whether you was there. But they rolled me clear down the straightaway, and then after the car settled down and stopped, one kept backing up and hitting it.
Oh my God.
So, and that's when I come alive out of there mad. But it did hurt my back. I didn't know it till the next day, because I was so darn mad. When you're mad.
Why do you think they did that?
Because I was out running them, and they didn't like that.
Yeah. What was the reputation of Stateline when you started up there in 1957?
Well, it was a good track, they had favorites over there, though.
Yeah.
So I was, I forget who the two guys were now, but I passed them all. They put me in the rear. I'd always start in the rear. And I got by everybody, and I was leading the race. Well, there's an accident, and they stopped it. So the flagman put me back to third, and I was mad. I said, no. I said, I am first. He said, no, you're not first, you're third. I said, okay. And I had a helmet. It was 3 pieces. I threw it in the ground, it come apart. And they were restarting the race. So here I'm going around the track, putting my helmet all together so I can get it back on. And so I went back to third, so I got to get in the second place car. I pushed him 1 lap, clear around the track, and then when I pulled out and I passed him, I come around to the flagman, and I went like that. I'm number 2. So I caught up to the first place guy, and I done the same thing to him. I got right against him, I pushed him around the track, and then I pulled out and passed him, and I come around to the flagman, and I held up my finger. I'm number 1 now. And I won that race. Mostly over there at the state line, it was mostly who could hold down on the inside, because the cars, you get the better traction and things.
Reputation as a kind of driver.
You know what they call me on the top of my car, what they put? He probably remembers. Timid Ted. Timid Ted.
Having great success with jalopies. Then you drove late models for a couple of years in 57, 59.
Right.
Did you have much success in the late model world?
Couldn't keep the engine together. I don't know why. We just couldn't keep that engine together. We had the engine, but it just wouldn't stay together. It wasn't the top end that went, it was the bottom end that always went.
Right.
Every man was a tough guy to get by. He was a tough guy. He was one of the top drivers.
But as far as late model, at some point you decide, not going to. Did you continue on doing?
Well, it got, as you went over the years, that expense got. Right. And if you ain't making the car isn't making the money to keep the expense up, then there's something wrong. Right. So that's why we seen the writing on the wall and wasn't keeping it up, so we got out of it. And then we went into dragging.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I had a 57 Chevy. I dragged. I went 13 times and brought home 12 trophies. So I'm towing the car.
Right.
And in fact, I think it was Buddha or somebody. He wore glasses. I can't remember what his name was. He says, can I ride with you? I said, you have to ride in the bed of the truck, or you can ride in the race car. He said, I'd like to ride the race car. And I'm pulling this thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And I ran 65, 70 mile an hour, and then these pipes come up, and they were kind of tilted back. And at that speed, the blue flames was coming out the exhaust about that far. And you could see the reflection of his glasses in the mirror. I look in the mirror and I could see. When we did get home, he says, I don't want to ride there no more. I said, I told you to ride the back. a few dirty ones, but
Anybody you care to name?
no.
Let me ask a name then. Let me ask a name then. We keep hearing the name Tom Dill. Is that would he be on your list?
He was.
You would least want to have on your tail, if you're on the final lap of the final race, the guy you wouldn't want to have there, and virtually everybody. Well, who would you think?
Tom Dill would be one because he'd give you a little push.
Yeah, when I was about 28, a friend of mine traded me a motorcycle, and I started liking them, and then I raced them locally. And then I found out they gave money away for driving cars. So I tried that for a while.
Stateline fans first heard of Tom Dill in 1959 when the track was running 100-lap jalopy championships. Tom towed in and outlasted a field of some 100 cars.
It was a bunch.
Plus, there was a fair chunk of prize money for Tom Dill and a 2 1/2 foot high trophy.
Yeah, will be a prize that.
Then the next year you get into late models.
Yeah, for Mobile. And I run the car for him for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years. Then I bought a Dodge new
Right.
and raced that for a couple of years, 3 years.
Did you own that Dodge yourself, or were you driving
Well,
for somebody?
I bought it from the Dodge dealer and I paid him when I had the money.
I understand.
It was brand new. And it was covered under warranty.
Squirt Johns, what's that mean to Tom Dill?
He was the class of the field at that time. Yeah.
Why was he so good, Tom?
He cheated a little.
How'd he cheat?
Engine.
Engine? Is that right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure he did. He told me since.
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it cheating, but you're supposed to be running a car that's near what they made, and he had stuff done to the motor.
What did Johnny Whitehead mean to you?
Johnny Whitehead is one of the greatest drivers in the world.
Why is that?
Somebody asked me to drive a car that he'd been driving and doing decent with one night. I couldn't hardly get around the racetrack in this car. It's scary to go fast.
So he knew his way around, huh?
Yeah, I never thought he was much of a driver until I drove that car.
Then you realized how good he
was.
was.
A hell of a driver.
Last lap, and there was just one driver out there, and you were racing him that you didn't want to be with because you just kind of knew it was going to be nip and tuck, hard to get around. Who would that one driver be?
I can think of several. I was going to say Jack Cooney because he spun out almost each lap. Seemed like when I was running 150 leading, he was going crossways in front of me.
The answer that everybody else, from Squirt Johns to Bobby Schnars to Marv Thorpe, when we asked the same question, every one of those guys, we asked the same question. They said the one single person they did not want to be on that last lap with one-on-one was Tom Dill. Why would they say that?
I don't have any idea. I feel good about that.
No, that's the respect that you had for
Everybody.
everybody.
That's a
Said
one
you-
answer.
You were the hardest guy to race with. You raced harder than anybody.
Well, we all knew when out there we thought we could win. I put the car in the pit and walked towards the racetrack, and there was somebody running towards the pits, and I didn't pay too much attention to him till he hit me right in the mouth.
Gee.
And he was running full tilt and just leveled me. I mean, I just went flat. It never hurt me.
My gosh. You respected more than others. When you're on the track, you may have given them a little bit of deference or whatever.
Well, you always gave Bobby Rhombic because he was gonna pass you anyhow.
I'll Russell in car number 4 on the move. Here it is, the checker flag and the win. Bobby Stars. Here he is, the terrific job of driving his second feature event of the season. What do you say, a big hand for Bobby Stars? Nice scoring, Bobby.
Is there an incident or an accident or something where you said, I don't believe that just happened?
We had several Chevrolets, and Joe Mavia, who owned the cars, was driving one himself. And one night he asked me, he said, there's something wrong with that car. He said, come off the corners and it pulls to the right. He said, take it for a ride, Rockford. So I, at Stateline, go on the track at the pit entrance there. Get down the back stretch. Through the 1-2, come back up past the flagman, over into the turn by the pit there. I come off the corner and it pulled to the right. And I hit the fence and rolled it over.
Oh, gosh. And what did you say when you came back into the pits?
I know it pulls to the right.
You're right, Joe.
Best I used to consider the roads between here and Stateline practice.
Isn't that funny?
I love it.
One night, the trailer tank broke off in Panama. They came and got me. I drove the car on order Stateline from Panama.
The racing stock cars are on their way. Into the third and fourth turn, the pace is faster. Number 22, Roberts at the wheel, qualified for the front row by running 155.7 miles an hour. Weatherly was only a hair slower. Nobody on that racetrack is slower than 145, except the pace car.
In 1961, do you recall some of the NASCAR drivers that you had to race against? Some of the household names you were racing against right there.
Oh, everybody.
Yeah.
For quite a few years.
Yeah.
A lot of them were still around.
Yeah.
Pearson?
Pearson. Okay, Pearson. He spun in front of me
What did he?
in the 125s or whatever they were running in. And I put it down on the infield at 150 miles an hour. And I don't know how many times I turned around. But I come out, it was still right side up and everything. And I continued down and around the racetrack. So that's all.
What was your car number that year at the race, remember?
I think it was 52, bro.
All your scrapbooks and everything are with your son. Is that
Yeah,
right?
and I didn't save a lot of stuff.
Really?
Didn't.
Your wife wasn't cutting things out?
Well, I had several wives and several girlfriends.
Oh, okay. We won't go there.
But we used to be up there every Saturday, and of course, used to hear Lloyd give us the great start. Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Stateline Speedway. You know, he'd have that sort of drawn out.
You run down on your feature event, 25 laps. On the pole is car number 98, Bud Finale of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Off the pole, car number 20, Keith Warner of Titusville, PA, a 1956 Ford. Second on the pole, car number 20, or car number 40, rather. Herb Gustafson, I understand, is from Titusville, PA. Off the pole, it's car number 96, Lindstrom in Northeast PA, a 1957 Ford. Third on the pole, car number 102, Bud Gardner of Warren, PA. Off the pole, car number 220, Chuck Piazza of Jamestown, New York, a 1956 Chevy. Next on the pole, car number 1, Marv Thorpe of Sugarville, PA, a 1956 Ford. Next off the pole, car number 12. Bill Jackson of Titusville, PA, a 1956 Ford. Next on the pole, car number 68, Jim Scott of Grand Valley, PA, a 1957 Chevy. Next off the pole, car number 21, Billy Layfield of Wellsville, New York, a 1956 Chevy. Next on the pole is car number 69, Don Strain of Ripley, New York, a 1956 Ford. Next off the pole, car number 37, Jim Hicks of Rock City, New York, a 1957 Ford. Next on the pole, car number 133, Jim Patrick of Wellsville, New York, a 1956 Ford. Next off the pole, car number 16, Kenny Johnson of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Chevy. Next on the pole, car number 30, Dean Layfield of Wellsville, New York, a 1957 Supercharged Ford. Next off the pole, car number M1, Bobby Snars of Busti, New York, a 1956 Chevy. Next on the pole, car number 8, Emery Mann of Warren, PA, a 1957 Chevy. Next off the pole, car number 27L, Sammy Lamancuso of Jamestown, New York, a 1957 Golden Hawk. Next on the pole, car number 28, Paul Wilson of Jamestown, New York, a 1956 Ford. Next off the pole is car number 22, Eb Young of Titusville, PA, a 56 Ford. And pushing the field, car number 4, Hyle Russell of Kane, PA, a 1956 Chevy. Quick rundown of your points. In first place is 554 with 554 points is Hyle Russell. Second, Squirt Johns with 550. Third, Dean Layfield with 448. Fourth, Bobby Snars with 352. And fifth, Emery Mann with 328. Well, the cars look good from here. We'll see what Jim Ponder thinks of them as they come out of the fourth turn and down the stretch for the start of the feature event. 25 laps to go. 25 laps, your starter Jim Ponder looks them over, and they're off. line into the first turn. Coming out best is Bud Finale in car number 98. Second, Keith Warner in 20, and third, Bud Gardner in 102. They're really moving out in the feature of end of the evening. However, all cars must make that first lap in order for the race to be on. They're still all going, so your race is on. In the lead yet is Bud Finale in car number 98, leading the pace. 2 laps completed, 23 laps to go with Keith Warner in 20 running second. A spin out by Marv Thorpe in car number 1 on that fourth turn. And Marv is stalled. I hope they all see that one and go right there into the fence of Phil Jackson, car number 12. Phil Jackson, car number 12, into the fence. Mark Thorpe, car number 1 on the fourth turn. The inside. But Kyle Russell in car number 4 on the move. Here it is, the checker flag and the win. Bobby Stars. And a battle for second. And it is Jim Hicks in 37. Third, Kyle Russell in car number 4. And fourth, Phil Mayfield in 21. Here he is, the terrific job of driving his second feature event of the season. What do you say? A big hand for Bobby Stars. Nice going, Bobby.
After the event was over, we'd always wait for the infamous closing to the races, and the famous quote that he always had was, "And remember, ladies and gentlemen, the place to take chances is here at the Speedway, not on the highway." And he used to draw that out like that, and always, immediately following that, he'd put on this old, warped, scratchy 45, and it would be in the year 2520.